Speaking of diets, as I mentioned earlier, there are many different kinds of diets, the fad diets, if you will. One that's very popular right now, and I don't want to classify this as a fad diet, but is the paleo diet. What are your thoughts on that, and what is that composed of?
Yeah, so I mean, the paleo diet is based on the premise that for the last 2 million years of kind of human evolution, what our bodies kind of more adapted to eat. And so they make some excellent points, like dairy, for example, is a relatively new invention, really not natural, right? The fact that milk is for babies, right? Kind of, so we're the only species that drinks milk past weaning, which is kind of weird. And then to drink milk of another species, it's just kind of, so they kind of present that as it doesn't really make sense. That our bodies we weren't kind of made to have that kind of hormone load, et cetera, later in life. And they also, what about all the processed junk food, right? There wasn't junk food out in the savannah, these refined carbohydrates, no good for us, table sugar, salt. And so I think that makes some excellent points. But I think, unfortunately, what people get taken away from that is this kind of caveman meat-heavy diet, which is really not how we best understand the Paleolithic period. Plants don't run as fast. The estimates are based on people that continue, so small tribes, people around the world that continue to eat in this state that haven't been exposed to the modern world. They look at their diets. They're really predominantly plant-based. They eat huge loads of plant food. They eat weeds, basically. And so they get the amount of vitamin C found in 10 oranges, the amount of vitamin E found in 2 cups of walnuts, the amount of calcium found in 5 cups of collard greens. They weren't like milking woolly mammoths or anything. This is, so how'd they get there? And they got like 104 grams of fiber. That's the best estimate. 104 grams of fiber a day. Americans get about 15, 20 if we're lucky. That's because, look, there's no refined food, right? There's no white flour, white rice, white bread, white pasta. And all they could eat was, all they could kind of forage around them, unless they could get a kill and get a little fat in their diet. But so that's kind of one important. So they have some really good points. And even Atkins, right? The Atkins diet. He made it. He said, table sugar isn't good for. No, but it's kind of a straw man argument. No one's saying go out and eat table sugar. No one's out saying eat this processed crap. I think it's also helpful to look even farther back in our evolutionary history. So if you go back to the Miocene period, which goes back 20 million years, where we first branched off from the rest of the great apes. And so that's really the greatest period. So that's 90% of our human evolution. And then the best evidence then is we were kind of strictly plant eaters, just like the rest of the great apes, or 95%. We ate a lot of fruit and green leafy vegetables. And so kind of 90% of our evolution. And so I think, that's why when we look at our gut and we look at our, ability to digest starches and things, I think it's very clear that those are some of the healthiest foods. And if you look at what foods are associated with, our chronic diseases, heart disease, for example, I think it's very clear that these kind of modern meat and dairy heavy diets are doing us ill. So I think paleo has some really good points, but maybe it's not so much a deficit in some of the paleo theories, more as kind of how it's been translated into popular consumption, which really doesn't represent, I think, the best available science.